Yes.
Welcome to, welcome to episode number 114 of the Blitz Take. I'm here with Michael Duarte, and I'm excited to talk NFC Championship and preview the Super Bowl. So welcome.
Thank you, Alex. Yes. We're a little away from the NFC Championship, but it'd be good to break it down with you and look ahead to the big game coming up here in, I don't know, a little over 10 days, right?
Yeah. But what were your initial thoughts on how it went?
We're going to go back to the NFC Championship first.
Yeah.
It went about as honestly, Alex, it went the way I thought it would go because, as you know, I was there live at the link a week earlier in the snow, in the freezing cold, when the Eagles took on the Rams, and that was a battle. That was a great contest. It was back and forth. The Rams were there the whole time. It was extremely close. Saquon Barkley obviously breaks off that big run, something like 75 yards there at the end of the game, which kind of sealed it, or at least from my perspective, with a little over 4 minutes left. I thought that sealed the game. It was over. And obviously the Rams come back down. They score a quick touchdown in under 2 minutes. And then they drive and get the ball down inside the red zone with a chance to not only just score and tie the game, but go ahead. And had the Rams score there, I really think they end up winning that game 29-28. So that's how close those two teams were in the NFC divisional round. I didn't think the Commanders were on the same level as the Eagles. I just didn't see it defensively. I think the Commanders had a season that by far exceeded expectations this year. And so I think they're a couple years away from being a true contender, whereas the Eagles, the Lions, and I didn't even think the Rams were going to be in that category, but you could just see how close they were. I thought if the Rams were able to pull off that upset over the Eagles, they would have beaten the Commanders at home at SoFi Stadium by a similar score. So that game went as good as well as I thought it would for the Eagles. And I think the biggest difference as we start to look ahead to the Super Bowl, Alex, is that this Eagles team 2 years ago that fell so close, just short, maybe a questionable pass interference penalty on Juju Smith-Schuster away from winning that Super Bowl in this. I was there for that game too, in this wet, sluggish, muddy field, from winning that Super Bowl. Now you take most of the same players from that team and you add Saquon Barkley, who was not on that team, who is a MVP candidate, who's probably going to finish higher than anyone on the Chiefs is going to finish in the MVP race this season. I'm assuming it's going to be Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson 1 and 2 and Barkley 3. So you have now an MVP candidate on the Eagles. To me, if they can put up a similar game as they put up 2 years ago, having Barkley, and if Barkley goes over 100 yards, that can tip the scales in favor of the Eagles this time.
Yeah, I was at the link for the Commanders-Eagles game, and the atmosphere was terrific as always, and I was just impressed with how Jalen Hurts handled himself offensively. I felt like he was locked in, and Devontae Smith had a great, fantastic catch with I forget what quarter it was, but he had
it was like a 20-yarder. I remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like the defense definitely showed up. I loved. I think Zach Bond had a career high in tackles, and he had 8 solo tackles and one fumble recovery. So he was a big time asset to the team defensively.
Bond, right?
Yeah, Zach Bond. Yeah.
Yeah, he had that forced fumble that was huge. But again, I mean, yes, the Commanders made mistakes. You can't commit the amount of turnovers they had in that game and expect to win it. But also, they couldn't stop the Eagles on offense all game long. They couldn't do it. I thought the Commanders' offense was good. It was a very high-scoring game in the first half. But they just were not able to stop Saquon Barkley. They were not able to stop Jalen Hurts. Like, I thought the Rams defense did a better job a week prior, and they're a much younger, aggressive, fast defense, and I just thought they did a much better job than the Commanders did, which just tells me that, like I told you, the Commanders are just a couple of years away, a couple pieces away from having elite defense that would allow them to contend for championships. But you can't commit 4 turnovers in a game and expect to win, and obviously they don't, losing by 32 points. So, yeah, it's a shame because I really think had that game earlier in the division round against the Rams been played not in the snow, on a normal surface, or even inside of a dome stadium where the weather's controlled and the temperature is controlled, maybe it goes a different way. Obviously, you saw those 2 back-to-back fumbles by the Rams in the snow, I think late in the third quarter. Or no, that was the fourth quarter, actually, some of those fumbles happened. I don't think those happen on a normal field, not in the snow. I think some other things, there was drops, there were people missing and sliding in the feet. And yes, both teams had to play for it, and the Eagles won it. I just would like to have seen that game played for both sides, both teams, on a neutral field, on a normal, it doesn't have to be a neutral field, but in normal weather conditions. I would have liked to have seen that game played and just let them both go toe-to-toe and see what the result is. Because what I saw, and you can attest to this because I came on your podcast, the Eagles podcast, after the Eagles kicked the living snot out of the Rams in week 12. And Barkley went off for 255 yards rushing. And I said, the Rams aren't even close to being as good of a team with the Eagles. And now we get to find out in this next stretch of schedule if the Eagles are as good as the Lions. Well, what I saw in that game in the snow at the Link was that the Rams had improved so much from week 12, winning like 8 of their last 9 games, winning 5 of their last games if you don't count the last game of the season where they played their backups and their stunt doubles. That looked like a team that improved a lot, especially on defense, and it looked like the competitive level between the Eagles and the Rams was not as big of a gap as we saw when the Commanders and Eagles played. It looked like they were very 2 close, evenly matched teams. That would have been cool to see in normal weather, just how that game would have turned out. But in any event, we get the rematch. I don't know if everybody's been wanting it, but we get the rematch that the Eagles fans have been wanting, at least people in Philadelphia have been wanting for the last 2 years. And that's Chiefs going for history, going for the first three-peat in NFL history. It's never been done before. Obviously, the same tired faces and cast, support crew with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, Taylor Swift in the stands. You're going to get more of Brittany Mahomes and Jackson Mahomes and those annoying guys. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins gets added to the Chiefs. But to me, if I'm just being honest with you, Alex, to me, this Chiefs team is not as good talent-wise. Obviously, experience-wise, yes, and the big names we just said, the names on the marquee. I don't think they're as good talent-wise, especially at the skill positions, as they were 2 years ago against the Eagles in Arizona. And I think the Eagles, offensively, especially with Saquon Barkley, Devonta Smith, are better than they were in that Super Bowl 2 years ago in Arizona. It'll be interesting to see, because, Jalen Hurts had that big fumble in that game. It'll be interesting to see if he can rise to the occasion and have one of his best games in New Orleans on Super Bowl Sunday.
What are your thoughts on Brendan Graham possibly coming back?
I think that I don't know if it's going to happen. I heard the same thing you did. I know it seems pretty early to come back from that injury, but obviously if he can come back, that's huge for the Eagles. That's huge for the defense. That's huge at stopping the run. I don't know, though, if the Chiefs' rushing attack is as big of a weapon as maybe people think they are. I don't know when the last time they had a 100-yard rusher was. Obviously, they brought Kareem Hunt back. Xavier Worthy is probably one of the fastest guys in the NFL. They kind of spread the ball around in their ground attack. But honestly, it's Patrick Mahomes rushing, right? The ability to extend plays, run for first downs, that I think is more dangerous. And I don't know if he makes it back, if he would be the spy, But I think the Eagles for sure are going to need to have a spy in this game on Patrick Mahomes in order to try to contain him and not let him rush for 40, 50, 60 yards on the ground. But it would give him a boost because that's a huge player for them, for the Eagles.
What is your hot take of going into this game?
That's a good question. My hot take. It's not a hot take for sure, but I think Saquon Barkley goes over 100 yards,
Mm-hmm.
which I think if that happens, it means it's a good day for the Eagles. I think Jalen Hurts is going to surprise people. That's one of my hot takes. How about this? Well, I think if Saquon Barkley goes over 100 yards and does what he's been doing, he probably wins MVP, but a hot take would be Jalen Hurts wins MVP. And I don't think a lot of people have that. I think it's Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Barkley. I think these are your candidates. So I'm going to go on a limb and say Jalen Hurts wins MVP. And I think that's a hot take that people
Mm-hmm.
might not think. And I think the Eagles spoil the three-peat. I think they get it done. Not a hot take, but just analyzing this game and looking at it. And look, I said the same thing on your podcast after that Week 12 when I came on. And you guys, your audience, and now granted they're all Eagles fans, kind of laughed at me and they didn't believe it. But that was the fact that the Eagles secondary, even though they're very good, they're not awful. Darius Slay is tremendous. I saw and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I saw the Rams move the ball on them on that secondary in the air pretty easily, right? Especially Puka Nacua.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Kupp had a big catch in that game. Sweat got targeted a little bit. Josh Sweat got targeted a little bit. But from what I saw from my perspective, it seemed like the Rams were able to move the ball on that secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think the Eagles were able to win the game defensively was on the defensive front, and it's really all about Jalen Carter. So Jalen Carter was able to get pressure on Matthew Stafford. He was able to sack Matthew Stafford. Their pressure on the quarterback was able to confuse the Rams' offensive line, especially if you look the tape, the final third and fourth down. The third down, obviously, where Jalen Carter, I think, gets the sack on. I know it might have not been Carter, but gets the sack on Matthew Stafford on third down there, second to last play, and then obviously on fourth down, they get the pressure. What'd you say?
Yeah.
Yes. Fourth down, they get the pressure, and obviously he throws it wide to Puka Nacua. But if you go look at the Rams' offensive line on those two plays, they're totally confused on who they should be blocking and who they should be helping. And Jalen Carter gets a clear path to Matthew Stafford
Mm-hmm.
to get the sack. So I'm not worried about the Eagles' defensive front. I think the Eagles' defensive front will be able to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes. They're going to be able to have him escape the pocket. Now, the thing is, Matthew Stafford is not as young and not as mobile and not able to create as much plays outside of the pocket and scramble with his feet the way Patrick Mahomes can. So Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to do that, but I think the Eagles' defensive front is going to be able to put pressure on him. And that's a recipe for success if you want to beat the Chiefs. That's what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to do 4 years ago when they beat them in 2021. So that, to me, also bodes well for the Eagles. But at the same time, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to move the ball around on that Eagles secondary, and I think he's going to be able to target a lot of guys. I think Travis Kelce probably has a big game. I think Juju Smith-Schuster might get a couple of catches. I think they're going to try to get Xavier Worthy in space for him to use that speed, as you saw. I think DeAndre Hopkins, who I think only had one reception in the AFC Championship, I think he's going to get some catches. I think you could see Marquise Hollywood-Brown get some catches. So I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to spread the ball around. He's got a lot of skill, talent players with Worthy, with Juju Smith-Schuster, with Hollywood-Brown, with Kelce, with Hopkins, and that's not even Pacheco and Kareem Hunt if he needs to out of the backfield. So I think if you attack the secondary, they're going to be able to move the ball on the Eagles. But I oh, Chris Jones is really good, but if you can't stop Saquon Barkley, the thing with the Eagles offense, when you add Saquon Barkley to it, is it's almost like pick your poison, right? I know you're a baseball fan, Alex, so they used to say this with the Dodgers last year, right? You can't walk Shohei Ohtani at the leadoff spot because Mookie Betts, the former MVP, is batting right behind him. And then if you walk Mookie Betts, you have the World Series MVP and Freddie Freeman, another former MVP in the 3 spot. And then if you walk those guys, you have Teoscar Hernandez, who's a three-time All-Star who won the home run derby behind him in the 4 spot. It's like pick your poison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when it comes to the Eagles offense, it's like, okay, are you going to stack the box and try to stop Saquon Barkley and contain him and stop the run? If you decide to do that, good luck to you, because Jalen Hurts then is going to throw the ball, and he's going to beat you by spreading the ball around to his all-pro players. And we're talking A.J. Brown. We're talking great tight end in Dallas Goedert. We're talking Devonta Smith. The Eagles have a lot of weapons as well, and it's the same kind of thing. So then if you're going to stay back, play zone defense, stop certain areas, double team A.J. Brown, whatever you may do, then if Saquon Barkley gets to the second level, you're done. You're toast. He's he's making a house call. He's taking it all the way to the house, and he's going to have a big game. That's what he did to the Rams, what he did to the Commanders. That's what he's been doing all season long. So I don't see how I think the Eagles will be able to move the ball easily on them. They're going to be able to see how the Chiefs are playing them, make adjustments at halftime if they have to, whether that is they're stacking the box, trying to take away Saquon Barkley, then beat him in the air. And if they're playing zone, then just keep pounding the rock and running the ball, get Saquon 200 yards, and win the game that way. So really it's going to come down to, I think, turnovers, who makes mistakes. And I think the Chiefs' rushing attack is not existent. I think the Eagles' defensive front can keep them in check. So really it's just if you can focus on stopping those skill receivers, those skill players, if you can put pressure on Patrick Mahomes, which I think they're going to do, then I think the Eagles can win this game.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I'll say, Alex, is what I have seen this year is, hold on one second. So the Superdome in New Orleans is a turf, right? It's artificial grass.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to what SoFi Stadium is, similar to other stadiums across the league. It's not natural grass. And one of the things that I thought would be interesting when the Rams went to Philadelphia to play the Eagles, and you can go back in our text, right? I didn't think the Rams were going to beat the Eagles once that match was set, once they beat the Vikings and it was all set up to go to Philadelphia. I didn't think they were going to beat them, but I actually thought playing on natural grass would be better for them than playing at SoFi Stadium on artificial turf. Because as you know, artificial turf plays up to speed. If you're fast and you have a lot of speed, you'll be able to play up to that. So Saquon Barkley, Devonta Smith, those guys had big games. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, those guys had big games at SoFi Stadium where it's artificial turf than playing on natural grass. Natural grass slows those guys down a little bit. So now you go to the Superdome and it's turf. That plays up for the Eagles. It plays up for Saquon Barkley. It plays up for Jalen Hurts. It plays up for A.J. Brown. It plays up for Devonta Smith. Now, with that said, the Chiefs are no slacks either. They have speedy guys like Worthy and Hollywood Brown and Patrick Mahomes as well. So those guys are going to have some opportunities to break one as well. But to me, that plays more into the Eagles' favor, playing on an artificial surface. And again, that brings us back to that Arizona game at State Farm Stadium in Glendale 2 years ago, the last time these two teams met. That is a natural grass surface that slides out before the games in the 6 days leading up to it, and then they slide it in. And as we know, it turned out to be wet, slick, and muddy, and it hurt the Eagles in that game. It slowed them down in that game. People were slipping and sliding. Mud was all over the place. I went on the field after the game, Alex. It was disgusting. I was just picking up chunks of grass and dirt from the field left and right. So, yeah, that surface was awful, and I think had it been an artificial surface, it would have helped the Eagles, and the Eagles probably win that Super Bowl. So I think now that this game is in New Orleans on artificial turf, I think that's going to help the Eagles even more so and tilt the scales to them instead of the Chiefs this time.
What's your schedule leading up to traveling to New Orleans?
Right. So I have a house project that I've been working on this week. I'm going to head back to Los Angeles on Saturday night, so in a couple days here. And then I am going to try to catch the Lakers Clippers Monday at Intuit Dome, and then fly out to New Orleans for the Super Bowl, where I can hopefully the media party will be Tuesday night, and there's some events Wednesday, and then by the time you get to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's just everyone's coming into town. It's just craziness. It's a lot of fun. There's stuff to do all day long. Kendrick Lamar is going to probably have a press conference, either Friday or Saturday. All this fun stuff leading up to the big game. And then I try to I go out Saturday, but I try to take it easy as much as I can because I want to get to the game early Sunday. And it takes a long time to get inside these perimeter that they create around the Superdome. And obviously there's a lot of security this year after what happened at the Sugar Bowl on Bourbon Street. So hopefully everyone's safe and healthy. There's no incidents. There's no accidents. And it's a great game. And hopefully the Eagles win.
Mm-hmm. Lastly, what is your score prediction?
I think the Chiefs are still favorite -2 right now. Is that correct? I've seen it go 1.5, 2, right? I've seen those lines.
I saw it 1.5.
1.5 was the last time you saw it. I've seen it as much as 2. I think 2.5. That means a lot of money is going on the Eagles probably, so it's jumping down. What was the final score? 38-35 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
If I recall. Fast surface. Yeah, I think the over is going to hit. And I'm going to say 38-20 Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I think the smart money is on the Eagles in this game. Not just getting 2 points or 1.5 points if you can get it, or adding to it. I think taking him on the money line, and I think taking the over is the smart bet here, just because of the playing surface I told you about. You remember what it was. I don't remember who was making the comments, but you remember a lot of Eagles players were saying if the turf wasn't like that 2 years ago in Arizona, they would have won that game. And I believe them because I got to walk on it and feel it. So those guys still on the team who remember that, and now they get to play on artificial turf, I think it plays well to them. And no one's taking them, right? Because they don't have the star factors. They don't have Patrick Mahomes. They don't have Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce and all this stuff, the support coming into Kansas City. So I think the Eagles are going to surprise a lot of people, and I think they're going to win easy.
Before we end this episode, I'll give you my prediction. I think the Eagles get the win. I would say 40-27.
Okay. I like that too. We're right in the same vicinity. I said 18 points. You say 13 points. Yeah, double digits. We're both on the same thing. Eagles by double digits. And look, I'm hopeful that the game is close, right?
Yeah.
For up until early fourth quarter. And then I think Saquon Barkley just breaks a big one again, which would just epitomize the entire Eagles season, right? He's been doing it all year long. Every time in the fourth quarter when the defenses are tired, boom, he gets to that second level and he's gone. And he
Mm-hmm.
breaks a big touchdown run, makes the house call, goes over 100 yards. That crowd goes crazy. Everyone goes crazy there at the link. They're going to be going crazy at the Super Bowl. I think this happens again. I think it's a 3-point game. Maybe the Eagles are winning. Maybe it's a 6-point game or something. And Saquon breaks a big one late. And that's, late in the fourth quarter, or early in the fourth quarter. And that's the deciding factor to me. And look, I, as I've been telling you this whole season, the fact that the New York Giants let this
Mm-hmm.
guy go, and it's not just that they let him go, it's the fact that Joe Shane, the GM of the New York Giants, is on television being recorded for Hard Knocks,
Mm-hmm.
spilling all the secrets, right? Telling people, no one's going to pay him. He's a running back. No one's going to give him the money he wants. Calling him on the phone saying, you're going to give us the last chance to make a final offer, right? The fact that the owner, Mara, is in the room on Hard Knocks saying, I'm going to have nightmares. I'm not going to be able to sleep at night if he goes to the Eagles. And yet they still let him go. They still didn't pay him. They paid Daniel Jones, who they cut, over Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
I am rooting for Saquon Barkley in this game to have a monster game in the Super Bowl on the brightest stage. This is what he's been doing all year. This is what he wants. This is what he played for. He never got to play except for one playoff game with the Giants, or two, I guess, because they won the first one. This is what he's been playing for. This is what players play for. This is what they want. This is why Saquon Barkley didn't break the single-season rushing record in Week 18 when he could have. This is why he didn't go back in the game earlier in the season. We could have broken his own rushing record for yards in a game, which he ended up doing anyways later on in the season against the Rams. So, to me, he plays the game for the right ways. He does it for the right reasons. We all watched the Giants fumble the bag and fumble the ball earlier on Hard Knocks. I want to see Saquon Barkley not only win for Philadelphia, not only win for the Eagles, not only do it for himself and for Pennsylvania. He's a Penn State guy, of course. I want to see him do it to just kind of give an FU to the New York Giants for letting him go and treating him the way they did and doing it all while the cameras were rolling on Hard Knocks. I think that would be a great storyline, and I think there'd be a lot of pissed off Giants fans. And obviously the Giants and Eagles fans hate each other, so I would love to see some pissed off Giants fan if Saquon Barkley were to have a monster game and take home the MVP.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to be able to go into the winning side locker room?
So they don't let us go into the locker rooms anymore as much because a lot of media stole stuff from the locker rooms. So what they do now is right outside of the locker rooms, they have these giant tents, and they bring in like 20 players at a time, and they put them all at a station, and you get to go interview them all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I will get to talk to all the 20 Eagles players they bring out, which is a lot of guys. They typically bring out the losing team first, so they'll bring out the losing team first, and then they'll bring out the winning team. So hopefully it's the Eagles as the winning team, and I'll get access to those 20 guys, and you can kind of walk around. They're available to you for about 20 minutes. So that's what they'll do, and I will be able to talk to them and do all that, yeah. And then after that, I usually head out to the field and play in the confetti and take photos and do all that good stuff.
Nice. It'll be a fun week getting ready to for a fun Super Bowl matchup.
Yes, sir. Where are you going to be watching the game, Alex? What are your Super Bowl plans?
I'm trying to plan to watch it with two of my good friends.
So like a house party? Or you going to go
Possibly.
out to like a bar or something?
I'm not sure that's something that we still have to plan.
Okay. Well, let me know what you decide to do. You'll message me, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks again for coming on.
Of course. And also, I can't be remiss before I leave to say congratulations to your Sixers, who are absolute shit this year with all the injuries, beating the Lakers on the second night of a back-to-back, who also were missing guys and playing 3 games in 4 games. But, hey, they still beat them. That's a big win for them.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrese Maxey is a dude, man. He almost scored 50 points in that game. So that's a good win for them.
I'll be at the Sixers game this upcoming Tuesday.
Do you think they make the play-in, or you think this is just a down year for them? In fact, I'm going to argue, Alex, it probably behooves the Sixers to, like, tank a little bit and get, like, a top 5, top 6 draft pick, get a really good pick, add it to it, and then come back like the Warriors did that one year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think it's worth of them going far in the playoffs for nothing. I think it's just smart enough to just do what they have to do to tank and build around Embiid and Maxey.
I mean, they're already going to be, I think they can easily, especially when Embiid comes back, easily get into the play-in tournament. I don't know if they get top 6. They have a shot at it, but they're definitely in the play-in tournament. And once you're in the play-in tournament, but then you're looking at, you'd be playing Cleveland or Boston in the first round, and I don't think they're going to get past them the way they're at. Either of them. Those are terrible first-round matchups. So if that's the case, then why not tank a little, fall to like 13 or 14 in the West, or East, and get a high draft pick, and then reload next year with all those guys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for having me on, and we'll do this again soon. Hopefully, you'll be celebrating a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'll definitely have you back on to recap it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Have a great night. Thanks for staying up.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.